Hello, everyone, and welcome to this very special edition of Women of Dance. I am Anya Katsevman, and I will be your host for today's show because today in the hot seat, as requested, we have our very own creator of this wonderful program, Sharonne Vinokurov. So, without further ado, please help me welcome Sharonne.
Hello, everybody.
Round of applause. Round of applause.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Anya, you are a fantastic host. Love the intro. I feel like if I want to go on vacation, you got this.
You know what? It would be a pleasure. I love doing this. I love what you created. So I feel very honored to be a part of it in this very special way.
Thank you so much. And the irony is, and I don't want to say anything yet, was you were my first guest ever, right? You were my season premiere, season one. Today's episode is technically our season two finale.
I love it.
Isn't that like fate, how that just works out?
I love it. Well, to close off the season, but not the show.
Oh, no, definitely not the show, just the season.
But yes, if you ever decide to finish doing Women of Dance, I need to be your last guest too.
Deal. Hopefully that won't be for like 20 years.
I love the trajectory.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to begin by asking you, technical question.
Yes.
Is there a way for me to moderate any questions that come in?
Yes. So I will be pulling up in the comments when I see people post questions. So they'll come up on the screen. So if anybody's watching and has questions for myself or Anya, we're live on Facebook and YouTube like always. So just comment away. I'll pull them up and Anya will get to your questions.
Fabulous. Yes, Anya will get to your questions.
Yes.
And questions are important and a lot of times help us know what you guys are interested in hearing about. So don't be shy and you don't have to wait to land. Okay. First of all, and I'm sure everybody that tunes in would love to know what inspired you to create Women of Dance.
Well, it came out of COVID, like a lot of things, with the time that we had to, do something different. And COVID for me was definitely a time of reflection. And it just made me think about the things that I've seen in the business after so many years. Because, we travel so much and there was barely a time to pause in the midst of like how busy we all were. And then COVID forced us all to pause. And when I was home and thinking about a lot of things and thinking about what I want from my career and what I see good and bad in the business and what was happening in the world with Me Too and all this other stuff and Time's Up, it just made me very reflective of what I was seeing. And I wanted to give a platform, a voice for all the women in our business who I had noticed over the years were kind of not being pushed to the side, but their work was minimalized in the general public. And I wanted to change that, whether it be an icon like yourself or, a woman artist that is starting out, but has made like big moves, or she's been in it a while, but nobody knows her. I just wanted to give women a platform. So.
Well, on behalf of all of those women, thank you.
You're welcome.
Before we get to questions that obviously are more personal for you and your career, can you make an overall reflection on of all the people that you've interviewed? Is there something we all say in common, or maybe an experience we all tend to have that you want women of the future generation to be aware of, or like anything that has come up so much that you, as someone that is hosting the show, are privy to seeing, right? Because you see it week after week after week and feel like it's important to highlight.
Absolutely. Several things. I mean, so much has come to the forefront and there's so many things that are, like you said, a common thread experience that have happened to so many of us. One of the biggest comments that I've heard is to be your authentic self, right? We spend so much time in classes learning patterns, trying to emulate other artists, trying to make ourselves be what others want us to be. And the one big thing that I've learned from all these women is they found their real success and happiness when they dialed into who they are authentically. So that was a big thing. Just really find yourself and focus on nurturing that, because then the success will come. And the other thing was, make sure you're involved in the conversations, right? So if you're dancing with a partner, be involved in the contracts, be involved in negotiations, just try to make yourself always involved, because there's a history in this industry of men keeping their female partners in the dark about a lot of things. And when these women had to break off on their own, they don't have the information that they need to be successful because things were kept from them. So that's something else that I noticed from a lot of artists that came on, was how much they didn't know that they didn't know. And that's something I learned from all my guests, was how much I didn't know.
So what steps can you say maybe you've been taking differently, or if someone listening also noticed what you noticed and said to themselves, oh, I have to find my own voice in order to succeed. How would I do that, really? Any insight?
Well, I think the first thing you have to do is start to believe in yourself. And I know that's really hard, especially if you're in a position where you've been told you're not enough, or you've been made to feel like you're not enough. I have this coach. She's a very wise woman. And when COVID happened, I remember distinctly, I was very lost at one point. And I called my coach and I scheduled a session. Y'all might know her. She's really awesome. But anyway, I scheduled a session with her and I said to her, I feel lost, right? Because I had spent a very large chunk of my career with one company, molding myself for that company. And I forgot who I was as an artist individually. And my coach made me sit down and make a list of the things that I know I'm good at and the things that I enjoy. And an honest list. I wasn't allowed to bullshit. When I said something that was bullshit, she called me out on it. Get yourself a coach that calls you out on your bullshit, people. Very important. But because it's true.
Feels like it's a good time to name drop who this coach is.
Anya Katsevman. Anyway. I mean, come on. Let's be real. It was you. So from this list, I just remember it being so powerful, because I remember you saying to me, when you doubt yourself, go to this list. It will remind you of who you are and what you are and what you bring to the table. And I found that very empowering, because these were words that we had come up with together. So it's not like it wasn't something I didn't know I had in me, but you helped me open up my realization, like, oh no, but it's all there, And then it was from finding what I was good at, figuring out what I wanted to do next that felt good to me, and also standing up for myself. That was a big thing that I got out of that too. And I say that to all the women that are listening. If you hear something on the show and you feel it resonates with you, stand up for yourself. Don't be afraid to say that something isn't fair, even if you've been so agreeable over the years that you've never complained. Because that's something I think we do and we don't realize that we do. We're so accepting. We want to be loved. We want to be appreciated. We don't want to. I'm a people pleaser. Like, I hate to tell my friends no. If my friends need something or whatever, it's always, yes, how can I help? I'll be there in 5 minutes. Like, that's just my mentality, right? And even if something wasn't best for me, if I could do it for someone, I would. And I would never complain. So then all of a sudden, the idea of me standing up for myself was why are you being like this all of a sudden? Well, just because I didn't stand up for myself doesn't mean I shouldn't moving forward, right? So if any of you watching feel like you've been stifled or you're not being heard, don't be afraid to speak up. And if you're called a bitch for standing up for yourself, maybe this person isn't meant to be in your life, right? Because your friends, the people that care about you and want what's best for you, will want you to stand up for yourself, if that makes any sense.
It makes perfect sense. Thank you for sharing that. And let's take a collective 10 seconds for the emotions because I'm very emotional right now.
I thought I would be the one that would be emotional in this one.
All the feels. All the feels.
All the feels.
I feel like this would be a wonderful segue into, as someone that has, because we're talking about a journey, right? We're talking about self-empowerment and self-improvement, because they go hand in hand. And it feels like COVID brought you an opportunity to do things in a new way, right? And I feel like that. Maybe I'm projecting this, but I feel like that. By the way, pause for matchy matchy.
I was gonna say that too.
Yes.
We're right here, girl.
So I feel like, as the world reopened, we all had an opportunity to show up in old environments in a new way, right?
Mhm.
Because sometimes when you're going with the flow, it's really hard to change it up. But here we all had this, okay, there is no flow. You kind of, if you saw it, you get to choose what you say yes to, what you say no to, and how you show up. So I feel like there have been a lot of changes for you in that time, and you are truly doing things differently, right? So you're an embodiment of all of the advice that has been circulated on the show. Can you tell us about some of the success that you have now experienced, and some of the empowerment that you've embodied, now that you are on the other side of this new, potentially challenging work?
Well, doing this, the company and breaking off on my own and making all these changes has been terrifying, but incredibly fulfilling. And honestly, like I've never been happier. The stress is like crazy, but I love the group that I was able to create. I think energy with people is really important. And I think that the ladies that auditioned for my first season, it's just been a very special, very magical experience with them. Everything's kind of really
You
clicked.
created a group?
I did. I did.
Tell us as if we don't know. Tell us
Okay. So,
what's the
so I
name?
started.
Start. There we go.
Okay. So I started my own company this year. It's called Prima Dance Company. The name, everybody asks me why Prima. So the name has multiple meanings. For starters, I came from the ballet world. So prima ballerina, that was just, to me, that epitomizes like the best, top line when I think of the word prima. It's also a little nod to my DJ days because that was my DJ name, DJ Prima.
That is cute.
So it just has a lot of meanings.
Yeah, Prima also has the same root as prime, right? Which also could mean first.
Hmm.
Which I think is cool. But I'm gonna pause you just for a second because I just heard something. I say it also, and I just heard it from the side, and I feel like we should change this. So if you're open to it, can I encourage you, and of course myself and everybody else that wants to jump on board? When you say, I come from the ballet world, it really makes it sound so separate.
True.
Right? And
True.
I think as we move forward into a place of unity and inclusion, it will be cool if we stopped separating ourselves, right? Because
Yeah.
for me, I also say that I come from the ballroom world, and it's like what does that even mean, right? And a lot of that has to do with not feeling included, right?
Absolutely.
And sometimes you feel so excluded and unwanted by your community that you say these things to sort of explain it away, right? But dance is dance, right? And
Yes.
community is community. And I think it would be really empowering for all of us if we didn't isolate it, right? And maybe said something along the lines of, I also do ballet, right? Because also I feel this, maybe you don't, so I don't want to project it onto you, but I feel also when I say I come from the ballroom world, it's almost like I'm excluding it from my present as well, right? You know, I am a ballroom dancer and I am a salsa dancer, right? I don't think we need to make them separate to make people more comfortable.
Absolutely. Okay. I'm going to redo that then. I'm going to try this out. So let's take it all the way back. I feel like let's just do a whole back thing and I'll start over. So rewind and give a little bit background too for those that don't know. So I grew up in a Russian home. And the joke in my family, and I've heard this also from many of my guests, which is hilarious that we all have this common beginning. The joke in my family is that I was singing and dancing before I was walking and talking. That's just how it always was. So by 2 years old, my parents were like, "You're going to ballet. Sticking you in dance class, that's it." And I tried tap also, and I feel like I could vaguely bust out like some basic tap steps, but probably not.
And now, is this in Russia? Where are you from?
I'm actually born and raised in Philadelphia. I'm the first person in my whole family that was born in the States.
You're first generation American.
First generation American.
And where did your parents immigrate from?
My mom is from Moscow and my dad is from St. Petersburg.
Okay, so you are Russian by culture and first generation American.
Yes. I actually didn't learn English until I went to school. Russian was my first language.
I was going to say, as someone that has spoken to you in Russian, your Russian is fantastic, especially for someone that was born here.
Thank you. That really means a lot. I appreciate that. I worked very hard on it. So yeah, did ballet, loved it, stayed in it. At one point when I was like a teenager, my parents tried to put me in ballroom as well. So I did have a little segue there, but ballet was my everything. I loved it so much. So I stayed with
it.
Everything, the costumes, the music, the dancing. I love the partnering. I love doing paradas. I loved being lifted in the air. Always. It started then. I just knew my whole life. My parents took me to see the Nutcracker when I was 4 or 5 years old, and I legit remember sitting in the audience, pointing to the stage and looking at them and saying, "That's what I'm going to be when I grow up." I don't know if I actually meant ballerina or dancer, but I just knew I was meant to be dancing on stage. And ballet stayed with me until I physically couldn't do it anymore. I was very stupid. I didn't listen to a doctor. I performed after a surgery that I shouldn't have performed on and ended my ballet career, which was very traumatic. But I did a little house music DJing and I rediscovered.
Yeah, more about that, please, because this is the first time I'm hearing you were a house DJ.
Okay, so I got hurt from ballet and I took a time off. And at that same time, there was like a lounge opening up nearby. And two of my friends were DJs, Jan and Larry. Unfortunately, Jan is no longer with us. But we were all there having dinner one night and we were just talking. And Larry said to me, "Come with me to the booth." And I said, "Okay." And he loaded up one song and he had it playing and he just put another one in there. And he was like, "Match them. These are the buttons you need to use. Figure it out." And I was like, "Okay." So I did and I made it work. And he was like, "You're a dancer. You have rhythm. Like you could do this. There aren't any female DJs doing this in Philly. Like, let's teach you."
Cool.
And I was like, "Okay." And him and Jan named me DJ Primo. So that was my DJ name. And I was spinning in Philly for a while. But at the time, I started doing ballroom again. And I discovered salsa and bachata. And I realized I was spending way too much time dancing in the booth. And I just wanted to be out on the dance floor. And I started getting more and more serious about doing salsa and bachata and taking classes and performing. So I walked away from that and found myself a new love in this Latin dance world that I didn't even know existed.
Well, continue the story.
So yeah, I started at Top Hat Dance Studio. Joe Kerner was my instructor. I really wanted to do a competition, and I wanted to do international Latin ballroom. And he was not an international Latin ballroom guy. He was a hustle guy. So he made me a deal. He said, "I'll compete with you in professional international Latin, but you have to do hustle." I said, "Fine." So I did that, and at the same time, Joe Figueroa had started teaching salsa and bachata classes, or salsa classes at Top Hat. And I had met him years ago, one random night at Cuba Libre. He had performed with his sister. I got his card. I was in college. I put it in a drawer, never thought about it again. And my parents had also been taking classes at Top Hat.
That is the cutest thing ever.
And my mom was the one that told me.
Do you have any media footage to?
Yes. So we're getting to that time period here. So I was taking these classes, and again, my mother was the one who was like, the instructor there. So I went and started taking his classes, and then he told me about bachata, and I took his bachata class, and I was in love with all of that. And at the meantime, Vicky Woods was starting a team in Philadelphia, a ladies team. And this was that team. It was Aina Ma. And this was our very first performance. It was at Lyrics nightclub, which it doesn't exist anymore in Philly. But
okay, so I'm assuming you're the blonde on screen, right?
Yes, I am the blonde. And it's funny that you say that, because before we got there, these girls, I don't know if they were messing with me or what, but they scared the shit out of me, because they were like, "You better go kill it tonight at the show, because they don't like white girls there." And I was like, "Oh, this is the life that I'm in now." Okay. So, but it was a lot of fun. It was the first time I'd ever done anything like this. I had a little dabbling of salsa in college. I was in a dance organization called Dance Works, and it was student choreographed. In my senior year, one of the students, he did a salsa piece, and I was in that. It was Tito Puente's Cuban Nightmare. I don't have the video of that. That's technically my first salsa performance, but I don't have it. But this was the first time that I'd gone to a salsa club like this, that I'd done anything even remotely in this genre. And I mean, I'm out there barefoot. And as someone who had been used to being in point shoes, this was quite a culture shock, to say the least. But it was a lot of fun while it lasted. So, yeah, there was that.
And so can we just, I'm going to pick on this because I feel it too. So I want to know how you feel. So how did it feel when you were told you better kill it because they don't like white girls?
I felt upset and scared, and I mean, definitely intimidated, but it also kind of lit a fire under my ass, because I'm one of those people that if you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to do it just to prove you wrong. So a part of me was like, "Oh my God, like, I don't want to put myself in this situation." And another part of me was like, "No, you're going to go out there and you're going to kill it. And they're all going to come up to you and be like, 'Who is this white girl?' And you need to be in this scene." So you'll always I'll have both things in my mind always. There will always be the doubt, but then there's also the drive. And for me, 9 times out of 10, the drive wins.
But from the beginning, you were almost set up for failure and have to work harder than everybody else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I knew from that moment on, I knew that any success that I would ever have in this industry, I'd have to work and go overboard with the work to almost justify it, because I was made to feel like, do you really need to be here? Is this really your scene? And not just from people in the scene. I mean, forgive my mom, I love her, but even at one point, she said to me, like, you should go back to ballroom. You're not a Latin dancer. You don't belong in this world. So that always, I feel like that stuck with me longer than I'd like to admit that it did.
And what made you stick it out?
I love this dance. Especially, I don't know what it is about bachata, but when I first heard bachata song, I think it was the guitar or something, but I was just melted. And I hadn't felt about any dance style the way I had about ballet until then.
It's beautiful.
So that love for the music and the joy that I can't describe. I mean, you know it. Those of us that perform know it, but there's a certain feeling when I'm on stage that's just, I feel so connected to myself that I get to live in the moment, and I'm so free and happy that all the stress and all the heartache and all the tears, it's worth it for me.
Okay, so take us through these videos.
Well, the video that you just saw was my first salsa team piece choreographed by Joe. And this is my first bachata team piece choreographed
This is
by...
where the love affair really began.
This is where the love affair really began. This piece was choreographed by Joe and Christy Cam. They were partners together at the time. My dance partner in this performance is Ted Lasik, who to this day is one of my students. And he was the first guy I choreographed the Bachata Pro-Am for.
Amazing.
So the relationships and friendships that I've made over the years from this community are just so wonderful. Like this was 2009, I think. And to think that at least half of these people are still in my life and who are great friends, I think that's amazing. It's something that's very different from the ballet world. Again, I know we're not supposed to be separating, but that community is different than this. You don't have ballet performances happening in nightclubs where you're drinking and socializing.
Right.
So this whole concept of being out at a club and then doing a performance and then having drinks and so it was so cool and so different. I didn't know any of this existed growing up. Like, what?
Okay, so at this point, you're in love with the dance, you're in love with the rhythm, and you're in love with the sense of community.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Beautiful.
And yeah, so I danced with him for a while, and I wanted to like be a sponge. I wanted to learn a lot from different people. So I started working also with Christy Cam after I left Aina Ma. I was still dancing with Joe, but we had decided she started to, the story of how this came about is really weird. Initially, it was Christy, myself, and Corinne, and we were going to start a ladies team, and it was going to be CSC, our initials. But the joke was that we were the no pants dance company because we loved to go out wearing booty shorts and leg warmers. That was like our thing. But she ended up calling the company Music Caliente. And one of the things that I learned from her, and I think it stuck with me, was she loved to fuse things. Like this performance was salsa mixed with cha-cha, mixed with samba, like a little rumba. And I love that because, like you said, dance is dance, right? So this was me realizing you can do more than one style. You can merge and play and it be something really different. So by this point, like I'd experienced a lady styling team that was like pure salsa. I had done a salsa team piece. I'd done a bachata team piece. And then Christy's group was like fusion. So I got to like do a little bit of sampling and it was a lot of fun. I was with the teams for a while. And then Darlin had left Estilo and was holding auditions for Art in Motion. And a friend of mine had called me and said, you need to come with me to auditions. And I said, I'm dancing on 2 teams. I don't have time to join another team. I'll go with you for fun, but I'm not auditioning. And of course, she convinced me to get there and audition, and I did. And then Darlin called me 2 days later and said, I was surprised to see you there, but I'm happy you came. I'd like you to join our semi-pro team. If you give me 6 months, I'll turn you into a professional. And I went, yeah, okay. Sounds like a deal to me. So how could I miss that opportunity? And I had known a little bit about him and his achievements. I had known that he had competed with Kat, for example, at the World Championships. I'd seen the videos. So I was excited about this new journey. And I got to experience traveling for the first time.
And this was in?
This here is the Chimpucayal Salsa Congress, which was in Niagara Falls. They don't have this event anymore.
But this was what year?
This was 2009? No, 2011. I'm sorry, 2011. For some reason, I can't find video of my first two performance pieces from 8. The first routine was Bonko, and the second routine that we did was Roots, which was actually where I met you. Because
that.
Okay, we can talk about. I'm gonna pause this then. Hold up, go away. Skip trial. Thank you very much. This is the fun of where you get to be a producer and a guest at the same time. Hold on. Okay, how I met Anya. So my second routine with Art in Motion was the first time we were gonna do an on-2 piece, and Darlin had found this song, and he had found this beautiful intro that was not a salsa intro at all. And he said, I'm bringing in a coach, I'm bringing a choreographer, and she's going to do this intro. And we all were like, okay. And I remember we didn't even have a studio at the time. We were rehearsing out of like a restaurant in like North Philly, horrible neighborhood. And he introduced you to us. And I was like,
I went to a restaurant?
It was in the back. You didn't go into the restaurant part. The space that we used was in the back. It wasn't in it was like a club. The guy that owned it used to run a salsa event. Neither here nor there, doesn't matter. Go to watch it. Anyway, about to go into Russian with you here. Короче means anyway, for those of you watching. So yeah, he introduced us to you, and you were the first person I met in the scene that was not a Latina. Like, that was a success in the scene, I should say, right? Because there was another woman on our team who's one of my best friends. Her name is Irina. She's also a Russian Jew. In fact, she was called Russian number 1, and I was Russian number 2 on the team. Just the way it is. But you were the first artist that I had met that was not a Latina. You were Russian, you were Jewish, and I was like, oh my God, who is this woman? This is awesome. And the beginning that you choreographed was this beautiful story with the very just dramatic, very Anya.
This is when we did One Girl with all the guys, right?
It was, I had 2 guys pulling me in the front. There were other stories in the back, but they kind of came alive later, and they lifted me up, and we spent all this time. We only did it once. And that video was up on somebody's website, and I could not find it. I was so upset.
It was beautiful, you guys. It was really beautiful.
I loved it. And I still, to this day, I love that piece of music. It's such a shame we didn't get to do the full thing more than once. I think we only did the full production of it at Salsa Fest in Philly. But those were the 2 pieces that I did before I ended up on the pro team. Although when that piece was going on, I was already transitioning to that team. And this piece that I had just started playing before we get into this was the first routine I ever got to perform. This was Loco de Amor, which was Art in Motion's first bachata piece. And this was also me dancing with Irina on stage. The best thing about this video is that when my mom watches it, she can't tell which one is me and which one is her.
It's cute.
And we loved performing together because,
I can tell you're on the right. Your stage left, screen right.
Yes, at this moment I am, correct. I'm with Darlin at this part. We switched partners. Initially, we had thought, because Yuri and Vera were supposed to be there, the idea was that Darlin and Yuri would do this together with the 2 of us, and we would keep swapping partners and try to confuse people. Because they looked really alike at the time. But yeah, it would be great. And I remember at this event particularly, we were backstage and someone came up to Irina and I, and they were like, it's so nice you get to perform with your twin. And I was like, we're not twins. And they were like, sisters? No. Cousins? We're not related. We're just 2 Russian Jews with white blonde curly hair. That's it. But it was so fun. And I didn't before this trip, like I didn't get to like really travel. I didn't know about Congress life. So this opened my eyes to so much, and I just wanted to be in this world as much as possible, really. And I love this piece. To this day, I will forever love this routine. I'll never get sick of it.
So you met Darlin, started being lifted again.
Yes. Yes, I started being lifted again. It's funny how we even started dancing together. It was just there was a gig in DC. There was 2 weeks to go. He needed a partner. He asked me if I would perform. I said yes. He said, "I'm going to send you a video. I need you to learn this routine. It's in 2 weeks." We threw in tricks and we went and performed, and was like, "Okay, well now let's compete together." So this was our first competition piece that we did. Obviously, again, I like being in the air. So, and I referred to him as my Dominican catapult because anyone who's ever danced with Darlin knows that he's extremely strong. And
we'll pick you up unexpectedly always. So
always, yes. Rule of thumb for anybody watching: if you're at an event with Darlin and you don't know where he is, be careful.
Yeah. On one hand, you feel like the most daintiest, smallest little thing in the world, and on the other hand, you're scared shitless because he's really tall and you're really high.
Oh yeah. I always say there's the height that you think you're gonna get, and then the height that you actually get.
Yeah.
And the first time you get to that height, your body goes, ah! But then you're like, okay, I know what that feels like. Let's go for it.
If you're afraid of heights, don't tell Darlin.
Don't. Please don't do that.
Yeah, he'll try to condition you out of it.
That's very, very true. The worst thing you could do is tell that man something you don't like, because he'll make it his goal to get you out of it, whether you want to or not. But yeah, this was our first competition piece together. It was actually a team competition piece that we had reworked for this, and we had added in a lyrical intro because at the time that was becoming the thing for competition. You know, you started out with something soft and then you went into a traditional or more traditional bachata routine. And this was also the days where I didn't know any better, and I would go get those like horrible spray tans at like the Hollywood tan, and I would look orange because I just really wanted to be dark. And then I discovered that there's much better things to tan your body, like Airy Joe, which I again found out from my amazing coach. Which, if anybody wants the link for those things, I can post it in the comments later. But yeah, I loved getting to fly. It was definitely an experience. And doing competition like this, it was just a whole other animal. I'd never done anything like that. When I was dancing ballet, we did performances. We didn't do competition. So doing this, as much as I was already familiar with partner work and flips and lifts, I wasn't used to that.
And this is the team that won.
This is the team that won. So our first competition that Darlin and I did was 2013. This was 2014 Summit. And these beautiful, incredible ladies who I will forever love and hold dear in my heart.
Yeah, that was a good year. I remember working on this routine.
This routine was fantastic. Beautiful choreography by Liz. Really just a great job. And I remember us drilling this routine to the point where like we would be in a car somewhere and we would be sitting there and talking it out, like 2, 3, kick, ball, change, syncopated step, drop and drop, like all the time. All the time. We were so in sync. And when we won that title, I just remember we were sitting at the table and we were just all like this, like praying and holding each other's hands, because we didn't know we hoped we did well, but we're also different. So to make ourselves look so uniform, you just don't know. And you also never know what the judges are really, looking for, because part of it is subjective. But we were just sitting there like this. And when they announced our name, Darlin slammed the table really hard, like, yes. And I think that's what made us realize that it happened. And we all started crying and we got up there, and it really was just the most amazing experience. This was the first title that I had. I'm honored that my first world title was in salsa, something that I didn't think would be possible. I had done so. Oh, I lost my. Oh, there she is.
Sorry, yeah, for some reason when people call me, my iPad picks it up. Sorry about that.
It's okay. It's okay. I just didn't know what happened. I was like, oh, she's there. Now she's not. Yeah, this really, it was the most amazing experience. And I'll never forget the bond that all of us shared. Like, it's something we'll carry with us forever. This moment, I mean, we tried to repeat the magic, but it's just so hard. You know, it was like we captured lightning in a bottle with this routine.
Yeah. Well,
Everything
I
about it.
mean, just a little tit of wisdom for everybody. You can't repeat magic. You always have to create new magic, you know.
Agreed. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's fun. I think I still have that costume. Doesn't really have any stones on it left just because of this ending. Every time we'd hit the floor, you hear all the stones come off. Like, oh, there they go.
Yeah.
I got to restone my costume.
I remember, I remember working on that routine. I remember like the energy in the studio. And I think what was really unique for AIM and everyone at AIM that year is that it just didn't happen, since that year. Is everybody was in alignment with their desire. What was really special that contributed to all of the success is everybody wanted to be there for the same reasons, in the same way, with the same amount of enthusiasm and desire for commitment. And I think that's what really created the magic that, just hasn't been matched since.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're right. A lot of things need to fall into place for that type of magic to happen. And
What is this magic that we're watching? I don't remember this at all.
this was a special piece. One of the things that I loved during my time with AIM was one of the gigs that we would go to every year was this event in Maine. And every year they had a different theme. So in order to hire us, they would say, this is our theme this year. We need you to come up with something. So one year the theme was a night on a magic carpet. And so one of the former dancers from AIM, Alpita, choreographed this intro for us. So we had to do this whole routine in heels, which, by the way, Bollywood in heels is really, really hard. But we did this performance, which was so much fun. And we brought it back for the Dance for Down Syndrome event, which is this event that we were performing at.
Awesome.
But the events that we did at Maine were great because every year that they hired us, we had to learn something new because we wanted to keep getting the gig. So, one year we did Bollywood, one year we did flamenco. We asked Marcia to come in and teach us flamenco dancing, and she choreographed something, and we put that into our Matador piece. This went into Baila, which is one of AIM's original pieces. I want to let it keep playing just because you guys need to see the men. Just for a second, the guys crack me up. Can we just take a second and laugh at this, please? I mean, they didn't.
I haven't seen Sir's face for a minute.
I know. But the energy, I got to give a lot of credit to the people who do Bollywood. I don't know how you guys do it. The amount of energy these routines take is just on another level. And it doesn't stop. There's no downtime. So it's great, but where's my favorite part? There it is. I'm sorry, I had to play it. I'm gonna get out of that video. But how can you not love performances like that? That's just fun. And it was a great event that the one that we were just showing, that was, again, Dance for Down Syndrome. It's an event that Art and Motion was hosting every year to raise money for Down syndrome organizations to support people like their son Tristan. So it was always beautiful to be able to take part in something like that. And I loved it, for sure.
So give us a little bit of a look into what is happening in your dance life now.
In my dance life now, well, this partnership here that started many, many years ago is back. Now, again, this is Joe. This was our first routine together as partners back in, I want to say, 2014, probably. Um, and then we danced together for a while, and then during COVID, we reconnected and started working together again. Um, he's I'm gonna say he's one of my partners, just because I've made myself a promise that I will never work with just one partner again. I want to work with more people. I wanna collaborate now in my life. I'm at a point where I want to experience different things. I want to do different styles. For example, he's great with salsa and bachata. He's not a hustle dancer, and that's fine. I love hustle. I love West Coast swing, so I'm working with other people for that. I just want to, at this point in my career, I want to sample and just play with people and create. I'm very much in that type of mentality. I love competition, don't get me wrong. It's fantastic, and I highly encourage anybody watching that wants to step up their dancing to do competition, because it is the best way to grow as a dancer, for sure. But it was such a priority for me for such a long time that lately everything that I'm doing, I just want it to be creative and fun. I don't wanna have to fit in any type of box or any category. Um, so a lot of the stuff that I'm doing now is a lot more of fusion and playfulness, the choreography. So my company, let's get back to that because that was something I was supposed to talk about. One of the goals that I had for my company was I really wanted it to be fusion. It's not a salsa team. It's not a bachata team. And I've told people that want to audition, if all you want to do is dance salsa, this is not the company for you, because I'm not going to just do salsa. I want my dancers to be trained in various styles. I feel like dance is dance, music is music, and we can tell a story because at the end of the day, the counts are the same. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You got eight counts and to do something with it, right? So, and this goes back to something you said in the beginning of the show when I tried to say my ballet life or from the ballet world, and you said don't because dance is dance. So, for example, my current team, when I taught them the choreography, it has elements of hustle and cha-cha and rumba and salsa. And I told them from the beginning, I'm not going to break it down to you like this is the hustle part and this is the cha-cha part because it's all dance. So for me, it's very important for them, yes, to know why something is something and why I'm doing it that way. But I just love the idea of using things and not having to stick to, well, it has to be within this time constraint and it can only be this. And if you want to show something else, it has to be 20% of that. No, I just want to throw things at the wall and see what sticks and play. And it's so much fun.
Well, I mean, different rhythms are different rhythms, but choreography is choreography.
Yes. 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 Choreography is exactly. And Latin dances are Latin dances. There are certain fundamentals that we know that carry throughout, right?
Right.
Latin dances are toe leads. You use the ball of your foot. It's not like back, like, in a waltz where you're doing, like, there's certain things, technical wise. And then you can play with other things. But again, I like telling stories. And I think that's something that has always been within me. It's something my dad to this day still like mocks me. He's like, I remember when you were little and I was sitting with you at the bus stop in my car and you jumped out of the car because you heard some music and you started dancing and you were saying, this is Romeo and Juliet and if blah, 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 blah. And I was like 8. So for me, creating has always been an outlet. It's always been something fun. I love to do choreography. I love to work with people to create things. So that's really where my focus is right now with my career and moving forward. I want to work with different people. I want to experience new things. I want to see what I can blend with my life. I want to keep growing as an artist. I keep training. Like West Coast swing is the thing that I'm really trying to like master these days because it's so much fun. And you get to play a lot in West Coast swing.
Mhm.
Something where I feel like Salsa and bachata, you don't really get to as much, probably because the dancers are in such a close hold. Obviously, if you're more of an open hold, the female has more flexibility to do stuff with her body. And so with hustle and especially West Coast swing, there's even more of that because you open up so much that the ladies can really just take a moment and groove it out if they want. And it's nice. It's very playful and freeing. And I want to do things that are like that right now.
And so if I wanted to join your company, what would I do?
Well, you would have to audition. And we are having auditions actually next week. Hey, so next Tuesday I'll be holding auditions here in Philadelphia. It'll be at Melody Restaurant, a Russian restaurant in Northeast. That's actually where I filmed my Casablanca movie. And yeah, it's gonna be an open audition. I'm gonna have 2 teams that I'm auditioning for. So I'm adding to the current ladies team, and I'm also starting a co-ed team. And I already have the choreography done because I'm crazy like that. And actually, the song, you're gonna like this. The song is a song that I used to hear in a Russian restaurant that I'd only heard a dance version of, and somehow stumbled upon another version of it that I was like, must choreograph to it. Oh my God. And I sent my mom the song and she was like, why does this sound familiar? And I was like, you know this version. And she was like, you're using it for a choreography? And she said, yes, it's going to be hustle and bachata. And she went, it's perfect. My mom is really picky. So the fact that she said it's perfect, I take that as a huge compliment. So yeah, people just need to reach out and you need to have experience. I don't need anyone that's a professional. I mean, obviously professionals are more than welcome to audition. I just need people that have at least the basic fundamentals, because as long as you have that and you have a drive to work, I got you.
And what can I expect as a member of your company?
As a member of my company, you can expect training during the week, not just rehearsal, but working on technique, working on flexibility, things like that. You'll get to travel. We'll be performing locally and throughout the US. The girls that I have currently on my team, they traveled way more than we even expected. Thank you, God. Very blessed that people reached out and hired me after I ventured out and started my own thing, which was very scary. I didn't know if I'd get hired. You know, it was essentially like I was starting over. But I'm very blessed that people believed in me and my talent and my vision. So these girls, they got to travel a lot for the beginning. I mean, we did Baltimore and Virginia Beach and Montreal, and we're doing Connecticut and DCBX. It's just all been really exciting. So that's going to continue, obviously, moving forward. So if you're going to be on the team, just know you're going to be performing and you're going to be traveling and making great memories. I mean, the bonds that we've been sharing have been amazing. You got to hang out with some of us in Montreal. You saw the vibe that we have with our group. It's a nice little, as we've been calling it, a coven, but in the best possible way.
I mean, there's no such a thing as a bad coven.
There's no such thing as a bad coven. You're absolutely right. There's no such thing as a bad coven. But yeah, it's just about building a really solid foundation, a really solid group. And it's very important for me as a director for my dancers to feel supported and encouraged and safe, right? If something isn't working for them, if something doesn't feel right, I always want my dancers to come to me. I want them to be open with me and to be able to not feel like they have to hold themselves back. I never want a dancer to be like, well, I feel like I couldn't talk to you about this. No. My phone is always on. My door is always open because I probably went through it and I don't want you to go through it alone, you know? So anything that I can do to help my dancers, I'll just do it. You know, it's just like I said earlier, I'm a people pleaser. I have a hard time saying no to my friends and family. I definitely think my parents take advantage of that fact, but that's fine.
Boundaries, Sharonne. We need to work on boundaries.
We've been working. Thank you. Thanks to you, we've been working on boundaries. If we hadn't been working on boundaries, I wouldn't be where I am today. So thank you for that. But yeah, I want to create something that people are excited to be a part of, people are excited to be around. I just want people to feel good. And if I can create that space for them, then I've done my job.
That is really beautiful. So, is
Um,
there anything that you normally ask your guests before you wrap up that is, you know, like from episode to episode continuous that you would like me to ask you?
well, I know I always wrap up with the, if there's that one piece of advice question. So you can ask me that if you'd
Yeah,
like.
that's what I thought it was, but I wasn't sure if there was anything else. So, if there's one piece of advice that you would like to give everybody, what would it be?
Believe in yourself. Believe in yourself and don't let the outside voices eat away at your belief, right? Know who you are, have confidence in who you are, trust in who you are, and surround yourself with the right people. The people that are going to support you without ulterior motives, right? Like, you want people that are going to want for you what they want for themselves. So it really is important to surround yourself with the right people for sure. But there's always going to be that negative noise in the world. So you have to believe in yourself enough that it blocks that out, or the noise doesn't really penetrate, right? Because if you believe in yourself and if you have confidence in yourself and you trust in your abilities, the rest will happen. Some way, shape, or form, the rest will work out.
Wonderful.
Just
And what can we expect for Women of Dance season 3?
Season 3 of Women of Dance is going to be so fun. I already have a couple of the special episodes lined up. We're going to do another panel like we did this season, but we're going to have a Women of Bachata panel.
Ooh.
And that's going to be a really interesting one because there's a lot of topics that need to be discussed in the bachata industry these days.
Okay, so how many bachata performances do I need to do to be invited to that panel?
I'm going to need at least 2 more.
2 more? Okay, I can make that happen.
I'll make you a deal. We can do a ladies same gender bachata routine. That can count as one of them.
And who's going to judge?
I almost said something, but I was going to spit out my coffee.
I mean,
Desiree?
Can't be on 2 chairs at the same time.
No, this is true. You can't be on 2 chairs at the same time. Judging actually something I'm also looking forward to doing, by the way, in the future. I forgot to mention. I just got certified as a judge, so I'm very excited to take that on the next step. So the next season, Women of Bachata panel discussion. We're going to have another episode featuring an ally of Women of Dance. And he already knows who he is, but you guys will have to wait till next season to find out.
Who it is. Because you had Ismael already, right?
I did have Ismael. Ismael was the first one. You know the second one.
I do?
You do. He's from your city. I almost want to tell you, but I don't.
Text me.
I'll text it to you. So we'll have that. And I do have some amazing guests booked. I just confirmed Alian Ramirez for next season.
Wonderful.
She'll be on. Also, we will have on Cecile from Paris.
Ooh.
So we're gonna try to take it a little bit more international next year. So just a warning for everybody, show times might vary based on time zones. So yeah, I'm just really excited for what's to come. My goal is to keep growing the show, keep having more artists also from outside the scene. So like I had Christine Bendel on the show and she's got a lot of Broadway success. I've had some hustle dancers. I want some more ballroom dancers. I want ballet dancers and modern dancers, and I want them all. Some point, I want this. All female dancers of all genres are welcome to come and tell their story on my show.
Wonderful. So if I'm a female dancer and I want to tell my story, I can reach out to you.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Absolutely. All my information has been scrolling on the bottom, guys. If you want to be on my show, you want to tell your story, send me an email and we can set it up. because I try to do my research about everybody, but there's a lot of incredibly talented women out there, and I might not know all of you, but I want to. So please reach out to me.
Wonderful. Well, Sharonne, you were a wonderful guest, and I am so excited that we got a chance to get to know you. So this was a wonderful idea. Thank you for putting yourself in the hot seat, because it's really nice to know the story behind the host and why you created the show. And on behalf of everybody, I just want to say one more time, thank you so much for hosting it, for taking time out of your busy schedule to create a platform where we can share our stories. I think it's important what you're doing. It's really elevating and uplifting for our community, and we are all much better for it. So thank you for your effort. And guys, like and share, and make sure you let everybody know that there's this wonderful show that exists that's giving women who dance a voice and a platform. So help us make it a huge success. Help support this wonderful cause, and we will see you next season.
Yes, thank you, Anya, for being an awesome guest host.
Anytime.
You're great. Love you. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Love you.
As Anya said, this has been Women of Dance. Thanks for season 2, guys. We'll see you in the fall. Bye.